So, Honorable Alfred, you have the floor. You are recognized. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was looking for the stand. I have, can somebody tell me where it's it, Mr. James? Anyway, we'll proceed on, okay, thank you graciously. Thank you. Yes. Mr. Speaker, I am delighted to support the national budget for the year 2024-2025. Tonight I greet all my colleagues. I thank you for your effort. I wish I could highlight some of the things that you have done, but the time I have allotted did not even be enough for to highlight my own work. So therefore, I want to commend you and say well done in each of your ministries, and thank you for the areas where my constituents benefited. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I want to say good night to the Cassibles constituency. I know they are locked in, and I thank them for listening. Mr. Speaker, before I go into the budget, my presentation, I heard Honorable Grant try to clarify the statement about students being moved. It's my business, so I had to go and mind my business. Because if students were being moved from Wesley in large numbers, something's wrong with me. How I don't know that? So I checked it out. So in 2021-2022, there were 117 students enrolled at Wesley. In 2022-23, 119 students. In 2023-24, 113 students. Therefore, despite the declining population in most schools, we can safely say that Wesley remains constant. So there's no large outflowing from Wesley because I would have to go and investigate that. Also, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Charles claimed that we are copying outside style of American and Europe, our HFLE curriculum. When it comes to HFLE, I take that personally. People who know me know that I eat HFLE. So when it comes to HFLE, Mr. Speaker, the HFLE curriculums are prepared by local qualified experts and teachers, and the guides are based on the curriculum regional framework for ages 5 to 11 for primary school and 12 to 16 for secondary school. And sometimes you have to, when God created the earth, there was nobody to say, that's good. So God turned around and he said, that's good. Mr. Speaker, I am a UE certified health and family life educator. Okay? So and my eyes open on that thing, and I really appreciate his contribution. And I want my colleague to know I got that. And I come into you so we can put something together for me to go back to my past secondary school in office. Two of us go down the road there because we have some things we can do there. Right. So, Mr. Speaker, patterning to build the platform for sustainable growth and development. Mr. Speaker, this budget is robust, people-centric, and development-focused. But, Mr. Speaker, for this budget to meet and exceed expectations, we must change our attitudes and reorient our minds to be grateful for how far we have come and what we have accomplished. Truly embrace Dominica and set our priorities and needs in order. Dominicans must change the way we operate and give a fair day's work for a fair day's pay despite our political differences. Dominicans must be ready to take hard decisions. Dominicans must be honest, responsible, and accountable if we are to sustain the investments we have made and realize further growth and development. Mr. Speaker, this will necessitate a cultural shift, fostering a collective consciousness and appreciation for the changes that are required in all sectors. Mr. Speaker, if Dominica is to get to where this Labour administration wants to take it, Some of us on this side have to become harder on advocacy, educating, embracing, monitoring, motivating, rebuking, refuting, rebuffing, rebutting, refusing, and rejecting. Because, Mr. Speaker, too often it is Dominicans who are hindered in the work that is going on in Dominica. So when we come out there, yeah, we will go and rebuke and refute and reject and yes. Mr. Speaker, through much adversities, we continue to persevere and skillfully manage our limited resources. All social programs continued. The National Employment Program was sustained. No cuts were made in public service. The construction industry continues to thrive. Agriculture is bouncing back. Education is taking a new meaning as our people are appreciating the fact that education is not what goes on in the classroom alone, and they're embracing skills and lifelong learning. Mr. Speaker, this administration continues to invest heavily in education, $70.7 million, the third highest allocation, reflecting 10.4% of the total budget. Mr. Speaker, despite varied challenges, the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence continues to adapt to the ever-changing landscape by providing a modern education system that empowers citizens to be active and successful participants in an increasingly competitive global environment and to prepare them for the many jobs opportunities created while the numerous capital projects are being undertaken and those that will be available when these projects are completed. Mr. Speaker, we heard all about them already. The International Airport, the geothermal energy plant, the Cabritz Marina, the agriculture facility at 1 Mile and other projects and programs within the blue and green economy, the cable car, construction of 5-star hotels, and the many other areas in tourism, the construction of 7 schools and many other opportunities in construction and education, especially the coming of the centers of excellence in Tibet and special education, the East Coast Road rehabilitation, and numerous opportunities under the digital economy. Mr. Speaker, we encourage our people, especially our students, to know about the ongoing development projects in all the different sectors, all over the island, and to align their dreams and aspirations with these, because there is room for everyone. Get on board. Get on board and help us in building this first climate resilient nation. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education works with people from birth. We have 4 roving caregivers who serve 8 communities where there is no daycare. What these people do, they deal with children from 0 to 3 years. They go to the homes, they stimulate these babies, they play games, they sing songs, puppets, colorful objects to stimulate these babies. Then, Mr. Speaker, we have approximately 1,178 3 to 5-year-olds enrolled in 87 early childhood centers all over Dominica. So the thrust to attain universal access to early childhood continues. New centers have been established at W.S. Stevens and Maho Primary School. Under the OECS Pearl for Education Advancement and Relevant Learning, we call it Pearl, we received $468,000 to upgrade 5 early childhood facilities. Work at Caleb Laura and Salibia is complete, and this is the first early childhood center in Salibia. Work began at Bacatel, and work will begin soon at Cassibruce and Laplaine. An early childhood facility at the Baroness Patricia Scotland Primary School, funded by the Maria Holder Memorial Trust, is complete. Mr. Speaker, our early childhood educators have personally developed themselves, and the government is paying attention to ensure that we put measures in place to give due relevance to the work that they do. And with funding from UNICEF, a diagnostic review of the early childhood sector was conducted, and the final drafts of the policies and standards are being reviewed for feedback by various stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, we celebrate the abilities and embrace the differences of students with special education needs. The government of Dominica has made significant contributions of land, professional expertise, and financial assistance in operation costs to ensure the upkeep for schools who are offering special education, like Alpha Center, an institution which celebrated its 50th anniversary this year. Big congratulations to Alpha Center. However, Mr. Speaker, as far as it's possible, students are part of the normal class. In addition to the classroom teacher, special education needs students have special teachers paid by the government assigned to them. So this training class, the teacher is teaching and they have their special teacher sitting down by them to make sure they understand what's going on. Where again you get that now? Somebody was asking me that somebody of us they never heard of that model before. Dominica have a lot of excellent practices, you know. Mr. Speaker, all new and renovated schools have wheelchair access and special bathroom facilities for physically challenged students. Mr. Speaker, when parents are told that their baby has a special needs, that is hard. The parents of a child with moderate or severe mental disorder or physical disability find it hard to make sense of the child's feeling and behavior. Mr. Speaker, our special education unit helps these parents to make sense of these feelings and behaviors and to manage them for the best outcome for the child. We hold discussions online to foster dialogue and collaboration between families and educators and to provide parents of children with special education needs psychosocial support and strategies to cope with day-to-day challenges. Mr. Speaker, one night we had over 320 people online. Mr. Speaker, we also had a nurse conference to foster collaboration between the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education, especially to encourage early reporting so that early intervention for those children identified with special education needs can be identified. Training is ongoing to ensure that there's a teacher at every primary school with some training in special education. Mr. Speaker, we plan to work closely with the Ministry of Health through the Adult Education Unit to educate young women on healthy self-management, especially during pregnancy, and to engage them in activities such as reading and singing to their unborn child, because, Mr. Speaker, research shows that this can help build the unborn child's brain power. In other words, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education is going after these children while they're still in their mother's belly. Mr. Speaker, we remain committed, it's not jokes, no. We remain committed to the education of all our children and our youth, including those who have special needs in settings that encourage their growth and development. The ministry procured assistive devices and diagnostic tools under the Pearl project at the cost of $130,000. Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking about hearing aids, walking stick, special cards and devices for teaching students with autism and more. Mr. Speaker, all this is happening under this Labour administration because we believe that our worth is measured by the way we treat our most vulnerable. Our advocacy as a government has dispelled so many myths. Mr. Speaker, no longer terms such as mumu, chebe, do, tish, abebe, efim. No longer are these terms used in our country. I don't know how to translate it. Like when children have physical problems, people used to call them funny names. But you don't hear these words again. We don't hear them. Mr. Speaker, recently, a pronouncement was made by the Prime Minister that the new Thibault Primary School, one of the 6 schools being built with funding from the People's Republic of China, will be the center of excellence for special education. We are glad that work is progressing at amazing speed at this school. Mr. Speaker, Dominica will take much pleasure in owning the fact that we have a center which can offer quality care and education in nurturing one of the most vulnerable groups. This center will also offer the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence a platform to expound on our motto, quality education for all. Mr. Speaker, we focus on inclusion, diversity, differentiation as a ministry to ensure that every child succeeds. Mr. Speaker, we must cater for the grade 3 child who is reading at grade 6 level, because this is where we had lapsed in previous times. We were busy trying to bring those who are below level up to level, but those who are above level, we're not doing too much. And the grade K child who can draw a perfect sketch of his pet dog, we have to cater for him. Therefore, we are preparing programs to ensure that our gifted students continue to excel. Mr. Speaker, we have attained universal primary access. All school-age children, primary school-age in Dominica can attend school. Mr. Speaker, we provide for our students through various safety net programs, transportation, uniform, school transfer fees, school feeding programs, school supplies, net for all, textbook scheme. Mr. Speaker, the integration of technology in the classroom has made steady progress as we prepare our students to actively participate in and contribute to the digital economy. The government of Dominica has invested significantly to improve the development of ICT in education. 100% of schools are involved in online instructions and assessment. Teacher training continues to be implemented to improve the use of technology within the classroom. Mr. Speaker, learning has evolved, and the COVID-19 pandemic has shown us the need to build a resilient education system. The digital transformation of our education system is not optional. We must adapt. We must ready ourselves for what is to come. Mr. Speaker, somewhere in the 90s, there were schools with stars, but I don't know who told the education officer that was a good idea. Mr. Speaker, those stars wasn't for if you're doing well, you know. Those stars were for if you're not performing well. And more stars you have, is worse. That reflects, not true, teacher, right? That reflects your worth, your worth. Alas, boy. But Mr. Speaker, I'm so glad that this does not exist anymore. And I want to report that all schools have improved. Some schools can do better, but we're in a better place than where we were last year. Mr. Speaker, there's a little school that used to have more than 1 star in the 90s. And that little school rose to becoming the top performing school in Dominica this year. A school behind God's back. One that we used to call Kakarat, you know Kakarat, when you write down, you are the one to interpret Kakarat, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking about the Penville Primary School. And I want to commend my friend, Miss Solange Basile, the principal, who I know since we taught French. Mais oui, monsieur. Je parle un peu français. Oui. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I know Miss Basile well. And I know that she and her parents and teachers, they put in the work. And you know what? I know her parent too. Yes. And he too supported, not only as a parent, but as a past educator. And I want to commend, and I want to say, I hope that we can share some of the best practices from that school with other small schools. Because how can you have 4 children in a class? And they are put in a class level. We still have a few cases. 4 children in a class. Mr. Speaker, that was unheard of one time. They throw you in grade 2 with 49. And you have to survive. Mr. Speaker, this year the boys led. And part of this can be... clap for the boys, clap for themselves. Mr. Speaker, part of that is attributed to the online learning and assessment. since after COVID, we noticed that the boys were excelling. The girls would present assignment, but when the boys give you an assignment, you always have something extra going with it. So, Mr. Speaker, we have a lot to do, but I think we are getting some things right. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I want to warn us as adults that we should not shortchange our students in ICT because of our own limitations and inhibitions. It's us that have our problem, not our children. You see, Mr. Speaker, our children are smarter than us in that area. Mr. Speaker, when a 5-year-old can stay upstairs and change the channel on the TV his mother watching downstairs using somebody else's phone, then we know what time it is. And Mr. Speaker, most of us have to learn and adapt to ICT. But our children were born into ICT. The students who started formal education during COVID-19 were oriented online before they met anybody face to face. Mr. Speaker, when I tell my 7-year-old grandchild, hurry up, you know what answer I get? Granny, I'm not AI, you know. So if you think we're going to sit there and behave because we have our own ideas about online, those children already pass us. Those children pass us long already. So many years now, grade 2 children doing assessment online, and grade 2 children are just about 6 years. And they're doing their thing online. The child is saying to me, Granny, you have to go to the thing and take the pen icon and drag it down. And do this. I said, no, you have to go to your mom because Granny don't understand it too well. You understand what I'm saying? So we must not let those feelings come and bar the thing. Let the thing flow. So, Mr. Speaker, I admonish us to embrace online learning and assessment. I commend those schools who continue to engage their parents online. Schools have 2 and 3 PTAs now, 1 face-to-face and 2 online. So you do the general meeting face-to-face and class meeting online. So we have done too much work, Mr. Speaker, to just let it slide back to pre-COVID days. Now CXC is expecting virtual labs, Mr. Speaker. There's a new app that we're going to try to pilot, where the children can do their labs online. They can go to the cupboard, take their chemical. You want to see water on the chemical, you'll see H2O. You have to know your work. And, well, Mr. Speaker, and Dominica, Dominica will benefit from £4 million from UNESCO and the European Commission to assist us in establishing policy and national legislation on ethics of artificial intelligence, adopted in November 2021 by the 193 member states of the organization. So we have to safeguard ourselves. As always, Mr. Speaker, and watch directly into the camera, we encourage our students to be careful and to be of their digital footprints and make the greatest efforts in being responsible digital citizens. Mr. Speaker, you see we went from 0 to 3 to preschool to primary. Mr. Speaker, I am happy for universal secondary education, which was achieved under this Labour Party. And that means something to me. Mr. Speaker, you don't know that, you know, because your surname Isaac maybe pull you through. But Mr. Speaker, the surname Bonit, B-O-N-I-T, didn't do anything for me. I was not part of the 30% on the selection list. I don't call it no pass list, because many students passed, but we were not selected. There was no space. We heard the story from Honorable Pinard. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you, it's one bad experience when you try your best and you watch students who you know who are not doing as well as you on the list and you're not there. Mr. Speaker, but I'm so glad that long before I really understood about God, Jesus loves me. Because my principal called the grammar school principal and said, no. I'll not be able to sleep if that child doesn't get a space. The principal, Mr. Hubert Charles, I can call his name. The principal told Mrs. Deloney, may her soul rest in peace, send the child over. Mrs. Deloney called my guardian and said, I need to do that. They said, go ahead. So the vocational lady walking with me to grammar school. One time she says to me, you're speaking to yourself? I said, no, I'm praying. I'm praying. When we got there, Mr. Speaker, I shot so. When you see a shot, you see tall people really taller, much taller than they really are, you know. And the principal have a funny voice. It's as if he whispering, but you hear what he's saying. The principal gave me an interview. Now I'm big. I understand that the principal was enjoying himself interacting with me. But at that time, for me, that was something else. And I just said, I wish he'd just sit down. Anyway, the principal sat down and finished his pen on the table. And he speaks to himself. I wonder if I don't get a spot in first form for you, if you could do second form. Mr. Speaker, I say, of course. And that, of course, was loaded, with tears. But I just didn't burst. The man told me, what guarantee do I have? I said, well, I can write good composition. I can read, and I know mathematics. Mr. Speaker, that is still, look at laughing all wanted. That is still the formula for succeeding in school. Not true? If you can write good composition, you can read, and you know mathematics. You don't see I have to become the Minister of Education there. Boy! Anyway, Mr. Speaker, the rest, I was going to the second week in August. I got a letter from grammar school. That's why I ended up in secondary school. Mr. Speaker, be laughing. Well, let me drink some water there because that's making me emotional, But not jokes, Mr. Speaker, you know what? That means for the last almost 20 years, no child in Dominica will have that kind of a story to tell. Oh, sure. No child will have that story to tell. Because when you reach secondary school age, even if you're in the hospital having surgery, when September you go to school. As long as you reach that, and Mr. Speaker, that is why this thing. Why you say no? I call you. I don't really know. No. Nobody not gonna have that story to tell again. Because as long as you have the age to go to secondary school, let's go. Mr. Speaker, we shouldn't take that for granted. Because there are many parts of the region, in the Caribbean region, Latin America, and in the world, where there are students who do not have access to secondary school. And I could say and tell you a lot of things, but I have plenty of things there to say, so I roll in. Mr. Speaker, our safety nets extend into secondary school. Transportation, payment of school registration, fees, payment of CXC fees, and more. Mr. Speaker, we saw improvement in regional assessment too. In CSEC, 79% of our students passed 5 or more subjects, an increase of 6% from last year. Dominica received 90 to 100% pass in 13 subjects, 6 of which were TVET subjects. We also received 80 to 89% pass in 9 subjects, 4 of which were TVET subjects. Dominica's overall performance was 78.8%, which is 4.2% above the regional performance. Mr. Speaker, CXC has chosen to release the CXC exam this year in Dominica in August. We wait expectantly to see our children result this year. The 9 secondary schools where children wrote CCSLC also showed improvement. We are getting closer to the 100%. This year, Dominica received 86.8% pass in English and 74.8% pass in maths. The percentages are going up, and that's what matters. And though we should not take comfort in the fact that we are above regional average, makes us feel good. Mr. Speaker, 17 Dominican children made it to the CXC merit list. What that means? That these children came between 1 and 10 in the region. In all countries that write in CXC, this children came between 1 and 10. In CSEC, we have 2 students in physical education and sports and industrial technology building, respectively. In CAPE, 2 students made it in electrical and electronic engineering technology unit 2. In CCSLC, 13 students secured top positions in mathematics, English, and French. The government of Dominica commends the 17 students on their achievements, but I highly commend Anfia Akisha John Charles from San Sauvé, who attends the Cassibru Secondary School, for placing first in the region in CCSLC Mathematics and English. Saint-Sauveur. Yes, Mr. Speaker. In 2023, CSEC examination, Dominica received an average of 90% pass in 12 TVET subjects. We are moving closer to our goal in ensuring that every child leaves secondary school with a pass in a TVET subject. So in 2023, 94% of students in government secondary schools left with a pass in at least one TVET subject. Clap for Dominican children. Mr. Speaker, we commend the efforts of our principals, our teachers, parents, and officers. I am glad, that's not a good word, I am elated to report that 71 teachers and 6 officers were appointed in this school year. Mr. Speaker, there's plenty room for improvement, but we have seen improvement at some of our secondary schools as a result of the new staffing structure. We encourage schools management to strengthen their pastoral care department. We must know if our students have a roof over their heads, if they have a fine place to sleep, if they have food on their tables and shoes on their feet. We must know what home life is like if we really want to have an impact on the student life. Mr. Speaker, the onus is on all of us, but more so our schools, to teach our children healthy self-management, conflict resolution skills, interpersonal relationship skills, decision-making, problem-solving, negotiating, critical thinking, because we need to ensure that our students are psychosocial competent and ready to be successful adults. Mr. Speaker, in this regard, I commend the Portsmouth Secondary School and the Cassibridge Secondary School for the work they are doing in this regard. Mr. Speaker, this government articulated a vision for education reform, and therefore greater emphasis was placed on technical vocational training. The Dominica TVET Council accelerated efforts to ensure that Dominica can issue national vocational certificates that are recognized regionally. Mr. Speaker, I am very happy to report that the inaugural, first ever, National Vocational Certification Award ceremony will be held on the 14th of August, 2024. Mr. Speaker, I commend the TVET Council and all those who work to ensure we got to this point. We have 600 portfolios from individuals applying for certification at level 1 and 2 in different skills. Our first ceremony will see the first 60 people receiving their certificates, and after this, we will have quarterly ceremonies to certify others based on their portfolio review. Mr. Speaker, we have to follow Cantor standards, and I'm hopeful that in the next budget address, we'll be reporting that we have received authorization by Cantor to issue CVQ certificates. Mr. Speaker, work is progressing satisfactorily on the new Goodwill Secondary, which are another of the 6 schools funded by the People's Republic of China. This school will serve as a center of excellence for technical vocational training. Mr. Speaker, I visited all the sites. There are 45 local people employed at the Goodwill Secondary School, and they still will employ other people as the project moves on. But the interesting thing is that the people have already spent more than $5 million on purchasing materials locally for the project.
28 more minutes.
How many more minutes?
28, 2-8.
No, man, that's not enough. Check up right now for me now. How much more?
That's what I was saying.
Okay, when you get closer. Mr. Speaker, this Center of Excellence will include facilities for training in several skills like auto mechanics, woodwork, garment production, air condition, refrigerating. Oh no, you're distracting me, man. Refrigeration installation and repair, electricity and electronics, home management, among others. We have begun to foster partnership with businesses and organizations so that we can certify skilled workers using what we have, the prior learning assessment and recognition. So there are people who already know how to do things, but they are not certified. So wherever they're working, we will go there to ensure that the standards are followed and they know what the units entail, and then we can assess them on the job and certify them. Mr. Speaker, we continue to support our students to ensure that they build skills to pursue higher learning and to be ready for the world of work. The Dominica State College is making a great effort in collaborating with us for that. Tuition fees at the Dominica State College is of no cost to high school graduates. Mr. Speaker, the Dominica State College was born under this Dominica Labor Administration. And before, Mr. Speaker, college was a special place for several percent of Dominica students. But the Dominica State College is expanding, increasing scope. We are moving from associate degree to include bachelor's degree. We also have short courses and offering in continuing education in skills. Plus, we have the Confucius Classroom, which is exposing students to Chinese language and culture for the past 2 years. And soon, Mr. Speaker, a bachelor's program in medical laboratory technician will be introduced. Mr. Speaker, before, not more than 2 students from Cassibrus would be enrolled yearly. And I think maybe it was the same thing for most of the other villages. Mr. Speaker, last year, more than 1,500 students were enrolled in State College. Mr. Speaker, I am sure Cassibrus constituency had at least 15. And Mr. Speaker, on July 10th, 365 students graduated from the Dominica State College. And I'm sure Cassibrus constituency had 15. 15 is the number. Mr. Speaker, it is only under this Labour Party administration we have seen this record number of students accessing tertiary level education in Dominica. Students are coming from every community, every strata of society. They have the same access. And Mr. Speaker, look, students are now coming from other countries to attend college at Dominica State College. I think that is something to shout about. Mr. Speaker, renovation of Block C at the college was completed at the cost of $1.1 million. The library was reopened in January following renovations and satisfactory air quality test results. Mr. Speaker, now work is presently ongoing on the North Building on Block A and B at the cost of $2.6 million. We thank the Prime Minister especially for his passion about tertiary education and higher learning in Dominica. And we thank our students, our staff, management, and parents and for their patience and support. And the government of Dominica pledge our continued support to the development of the Dominica State College. Mr. Speaker, adult education continues to offer programs also in functional literacy and numeracy and skills. But more than that, we had parenting programs at 4 primary schools and 1 secondary school, and we held block meeting in 2 communities. Mr. Speaker, our people are intelligent, they are doing well, and that is why we continue to pursue our goals for 1 university graduate in each household. I think we passed that already, you know. This financial year, in addition to those that we approved, we paid over $7 million for individuals seeking assistance to pursue tertiary education in various local and regional and international colleges and universities. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, we continue to secure scholarships for our students from friendly countries like Cuba, People's Republic of China, Mexico, Morocco, and others. We also facilitate students to pursue scholarship opportunities through the organization as OAS, Commonwealth, and other international agencies. The government continues to award merit-based scholarship to the top performers in each faculty of the Dominica State College. What to do again now? We congratulate all the students who graduated from higher learning institutions. We congratulate our 7 doctors who graduated from different medical schools in Cuba. Mr. Speaker, we continue to find ways to instill in our people a sense of national pride. Several projects were funded by UNESCO to help preserve different aspects of our culture. We've not one in the Kokoi language in Marigot, here. Several programs were also organized by the library in this regard. Work continues on a manual for teaching civics. And during our yearly observation of Heritage Month, we continue to educate our students on our culture, being patriotic, being each other's keeper, and caring for their environment. Mr. Speaker, we collaborated with Solid Waste Management Corporation on the recycling project. Schools were supposed to collect plastic bottles. Mr. Speaker, we collected over 110,000 and all around. We have a problem. People have to learn to stop that littering, you know. Because for us to collect 110,000 empty bottles in bush, in drain, by road, by shop, we can do better than that. So that's why I'm happy for the tax on these sweet drinks. So I hope people will not cut down on using these sweet drinks, but I think our environment will be a little happy too, because we'll have less plastic bottles in the environment. Mr. Speaker, I must mention the work done in these areas by the 4-H coordinator under the coordinator, Mr. Bert Paul. Now Dominica has risen to number 2 in the region in 4-H. Jamaica is the only person who is beating us now. Mr. Speaker, and I'm telling you, I'm not saying and talk about young people, because it's the young people, you know, that in that 4-H and all those things there. So I leave that for the Minister of Youth to say her thing. Mr. Speaker, the government of Dominica continues to ensure that our children are provided with modern facilities conducive to teaching and learning. At the Dominica Grammar School, existing structures are being renovated, and work is ongoing on classroom blocks, and administrative blocks, and auditorium, and sporting facilities. Mr. Speaker, if once we build in our house and we have to slow down, you know. So we build in our own house and we have to slow down. We have to slow down because the price, the shipment of materials slow down. If you don't have the block and you have to put up block, you have to wait until you get block. Also, the price of building materials have increased 3 times since we started the grammar school. Mr. Speaker, the cost of skilled laborers, more and more as you need more skilled laborers, you have to pay them more. Changes to organization plan, the plan to increase a football field and a field place for other sports, plus a digital library and other components. This modern state of the art facility will have modern science labs and enhance and improve facilities for teachers when it is complete. Mr. Speaker, for those of us who attended the Dominica Grammar School, when those children will put their hand in assembly and sing, "A school for human eyes," that will mean something. You can. That the greatest of all builders build a school for you. That song, school song, is going to take new meaning after this building is complete. Mr. Speaker, what are grammar school people in the house, man? Mr. Speaker, work continues at the other schools funded by the People's Republic of China. Foundation work is ongoing at Bellevue Chopin. Excavation work has begun at Tetmod, and work will soon begin at Kalibishi and Sineku. We thank all the parents, teachers, and students in these areas, and we promise in the end, the school you will get will be worth the wait. We thank the People's Republic of China for such a generous contribution to education in Dominica. Mr. Speaker, under the Safe School project, Sidima will spend $200,000 US on fencing at Isaiah Thomas Secondary, Cassibrou Secondary, and Massac Primary. And a canopy will be built over the walkway at the Concord Primary as we enhance safety in our schools. Mr. Speaker, the challenges of providing quality education to all children is a formidable one. Therefore, I graciously thank all the countries, organizations, and individuals for your collaboration with the Ministry of Education in this effort. I say thank for your dedication, your passion, and your belief that every child can succeed. Let's continue to work together to make this vision a reality. I extend deepest gratitude and appreciation to all the officers who work within the Ministry of Education. I also thank PS Privo and PS Gis, principals, parents, and teachers for their commendable work despite our challenges and limitations. Cassibrou's constituency. Mr. Speaker, the people of Petit Soufrière, Saint-Sauveur, Good Hope, Mopo, Deepa, Tranto, Formel, Cassibrou's proper, we don't have to follow no kind of news on radio. for us to know the impact and the effect and the setback of climate change. You hear me? We don't have to follow no news, we don't have to read nothing. That's not our DNA now. Mr. Speaker, when I was a child, we would have 7 days of rain, and the river wouldn't even look dirty. People pick up their bag and they go and catch crabs and children like that because now it's to bathe in the rain and go inside and wait for kalalu with crab and dumpling. Mr. Speaker, I didn't even have hunting season that time. There's a lot of rain falling. And now it's ready to pick up your bag and go and look for crab. No, Mr. Speaker. With climate change in my constituency, all we need is 1 hour of non-stop shower while the rest of Dominica have been thrown in the sun, and we experience landslide, river overflow in their back, roadblock, even loss of life. And you know what? We need now $4 million to respond. Mr. Speaker, that is why we are ever so grateful to have a government in place with a leader who has mastered the art of dealing with crises and adversities, including natural disasters. Mr. Speaker, though we are still learning, we have come extremely far on implementing preventative measures, interventions, and rehabilitation methods. We extend gratitude to this government for undertaking the $127 million East Coast Road. More than $47.5 million was spent on the Cassibru section, 15 retaining walls, 77 culverts, concrete drains on both sides of the road, 2 bridges. Mr. Speaker, road nice, but it's not just about nice road. It is about the vulnerability issues which have been addressed during this project, like the shelving of the banks and the increased and improved drains and culverts. Mr. Speaker, it is about the safety measures included in this project, like the higher bridges to allow greater flow. So, Mr. Speaker, measures have served well so far because we've seen some rainy days and we had very little to complain about. So we continue to pray that things will go just how they have begun. In addition to feeling and being safer, Mr. Speaker, the Cassibru's constituency wins on all counts with this road. $2.7 million was paid to 224 farmers in Cassibru's for their land that we use. Farmers receive additional payments for their crop. Several people from the constituency are still employed on segment 2. Travel time has decreased. People are beginning to come again for their fish and their produce and entertainment activity. You always need to Cassibru's last Sunday. Savings on the shocks. Savings on shocks and other vehicle parts and tires. Smoother ride for patients on the ambulance. The value of land has increased, and the value and beauty this project brings have improved our image and our self-esteem and increased our sense of belonging and pride. Thank you to this Labour Party administration. Mr. Speaker, we take pride in our Regional Disaster Resource Center, but it's not just standing there waiting for a disaster, you know. Cassibru's constituency had a launching of the first student overseas study group on April 22nd. Our overseas students were very happy to be housed in this facility because we transformed the top floor with little cubicles and dressing table. And because, Mr. Speaker, there's nothing that says if you come to a shelter, you can have some privacy, you know. Because if we have a mother who is nursing or a husband and a wife, you can give them a little cubicle, they can lock their door, and you cozy, you don't have to go now when you come past. So, Mr. Speaker, so far we've had 3 groups of students, and other groups are expected later on in this year. Mr. Speaker, this has brought some economic opportunities to the area because we have to engage cooks, cleaners, bus drivers. In addition, bars and restaurants are benefiting, and a large percentage of the students' time they spend that visiting tourist attraction sites. So Dominica benefits too. Mr. Speaker, I commend the 17 persons who were trained in shelter management, 19 in ham radio operation, our disaster preparedness groups, our certified emergency respondents team, and Red Cross. Mr. Speaker, the level of seriousness these individuals place on disaster preparedness and management is extraordinary. Mr. Speaker, our next move is to join the Prime Minister in being a voice on the effects of and the impact of climate change. Because, Mr. Speaker, the constituents are angry. Because we were so close to enjoying the upgrading of our playing field. Mr. Speaker, we had the plans to present the design to the community on November 11, 2021. And we experienced a trough on November 6, 2021. Mr. Speaker, you know it is already when there's a natural disaster. All funds are redirected to recovery efforts. Over $4.4 million were spent just to move dirt and create access. So here we are, still waiting for our word of new funds for our playing field. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we have every reason to join our Prime Minister in saying to those developed countries who are contributing to the most to climate change, we not only want the funds that they promise, we deserve more. Because if they give us that fund, I want my funds for my playing field to take out landslide. Mr. Speaker, we are doing our best in disaster preparedness. Therefore, I encourage people to work with the teams and follow. Follow when plans are activated. Let me look at the camera because I know you all are looking. If we say time to move, just let us move. Otherwise, all that work, all this group, all this detailed plan, all this nice shelter, that's going to be useless if you choose to stay in an unsafe place and get hurt during a disaster. So when we activate the plan, just move with us. Mr. Speaker, the process of relocation is multi-layered, and it will cost the government more than $20 million, but we are moving forward. Thus far, 11.58 acres of land have been acquired from 8 landowners, and all plans have been submitted to the planning unit for consideration. Construction work should begin in October. Mr. Speaker, aside from the relocation, residential lots were approved for 4 constituents. Mr. Speaker, though our conversation on housing has shifted a little because of the relocation process, construction of 2 houses began under the Government World Bank Housing Recovery Program. Repair works and installation of doors and windows, people need a thing, we're setting them up. Hurricane ties distribution still going on this year. So if anybody wants hurricane ties, go and get, because all that on this year. And Mr. Speaker, more than a quarter okay, Mr. Speaker, I'm going on to NEP. Mr. Speaker, more than $250,000 is paid out in Cassibre's constituency for under NEP, the Public Support Assistance Program for beneficiaries over 65 and over. More than $250,000 every month. And families continue to benefit from the funeral grant, the Yes We Care, and medical assistance. Mr. Speaker, I highly commend the NEP teams and their leaders, Ms. Julia Winston and Ms. Adelina Gasper, for the work they do in the constituency. Mr. Speaker, Dominica saw their quality of work when we worked from Pocase to Roger recently. Everybody was saying, but who working there? Who for those NEP? Scratching of the grass, man. We saw the quality. And Mr. Speaker, the care our elderly receive under the Yes We Care program is remarkable. I express gratitude on behalf of the constituents of Cassibres for the effort this government is making to enhance lives. We are happy that under this new budget, all programs will continue. Mr. Speaker, despite our limitation, our youth continue to excel in sports. We saw improvement in volleyball, basketball, netball as a result of the Saturday training sponsored by Senator Lockhart. In addition to that, we still have rounders and cricket and everything else. Football is on a high. We have 2 teams in the Premier League. United is at 2nd place now, and East Central is now in 3rd place. We have players representing on the national team. We have a group of young players between 10 to 13. And the latest dimension of the football is these supersonic baby strikers. I don't even know their name, no, Mr. Speaker, baby ballers. That is a group from 5 to 10. So as soon as they reach 10, then they can transition to the 10 to 13 group. And this is a group that is sponsored by the Labor Women Organization. And you know, the parents come. And while the children are playing their football, you know what we do? We have a retired nurse telling us, 1, 2, do that, run around field. Mr. Speaker, you must see me. So we're not just there. So we exercise, we try. Are you thinking, Joe? The parents are there trying to keep fit. In the same thing we discuss. We talk together. And the latest discussion we had is that as soon as school open, we are going to ensure that our 26 baby ballers all have accounts in the school saving union, and we are all going to try to save $1 a week for them. We must get our people into the habit of saving money. I thank Reverend Copel, who's a footballer too, and Leon for helping out there. I commend all our players. Some I'd like to mention them because when I go back up, I'm getting close for the rest of the month. You know? But I must make mention of Fabio Drago and Rayvon and Randall Copel, Leon Edward, Yannick Vigilant, Alison Gaspar, Chewy and Jerryson, all of them. I go and die when I go up if I miss out some. Mr. Speaker, we also thank all our coaches and trainers who continue to work with the youth of the constituency to keep the sports alive and well. We have a big football activity in Sansove in August. Mr. Speaker, our cultural officers who are employed under the NEP program, Ms. Merle Challenger and Ms. Natalia Durant are doing a splendid job, ensuring that our culture is preserved. Practice for independence already begun at summer school. I want to take the opportunity to thank all those who are engaged in summer school at Cassibru, Sansove, and Petit Soufriere. We want to send high commendation to a 9-year-old child from Cassibru, Omar John Baptiste, who last year received the Young Artist Award in the Independence celebration. And he's the great-grandson of Mr. Gaspar, wú received a Golden Drum Award too, so you know the grandfather passing that down. Mr. Speaker, our students continue to benefit from all safety nets program. I want to congratulate the 24 students from the Cassibru constituency who graduated from high school, 16 graduated from college. We are happy that the results show improvement in literacy and numeracy at both schools. I acknowledge the effort of all the teachers at the Cassibru Primary, Cassibru Secondary, and Sansove Primary. We have work to do, but we are not where we used to be. We congratulate our 5 students from Cassibru who graduated from universities abroad, and we pledge our continued support to the other 12 who continue to pursue higher education. Mr. Speaker, we extend warm congratulations to Dr. Lisa Labessiere from Good Hope, who completed studies in medicine in Cuba, and we thank the Labour Party administration for supporting her, our doctor. Mr. Speaker, the health workers, we can't let their effort go by. They are making a big effort to provide wonderful health care in Cassibru. The youth officers, we cannot leave them out, and we want to encourage all our youth to take advantage of all programs. They're not taking enough advantage of that. And Mr. Speaker, last year, 13 of our students graduated from college. All 13 of them are working. Oh, look up then. All 13 of them are working. I congratulate the 5 women who operate in the Vectiva nursery in Sansove. Not only are they providing plants to constituents to use in soil conservation, but they're also selling plants. You don't want to hear the price. I'm happy that some of our farmers, they tried the white potatoes, and they're excited about growing. Mr. Speaker, we see an increase in coconut oil, castor oil, people producing oil, increase in goat and pig rearing, in poultry, and bay oil continues to sell, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. On behalf of the Petit Soufriere people, I commend the women who continue to generate income from the sale of vegetables and potted plants. Congratulations to the cassava growers on the value you have added to this produce by beautifully packaging your farine. Our farmers continue to benefit from programs, and they make a great effort. But those agoutis really trouble them this year. We look forward to a better year next year and to continue our farm roads. You know, I tell them what to do the agouti already, you know. I commend our fishermen who are always ready to help in times of disaster. We are all happy that the landing site at Sansove will be enhanced under this budget. Mr. Speaker, we are glad that in this budget, the water problem in Cassibru will be addressed under the Water Sector Strategic Development Plan. Mr. Speaker, I am also happy that we will see the completion of the Sansove Health Center, the Good Hope to Sansove Road, additional classroom at the Cassibru Secondary School, and the police station. Now, Mr. Speaker, I want to look in the camera and speak to the almost 220 young people we have involved in sport. Work was not done on our field and our court, but it wasn't because your pal rep wasn't fighting. It wasn't because your pal rep wasn't pushing. Your pal rep continues to fight and push on your behalf. In the meantime, let us take care of what we have. Continue to practice hard. Continue to play hard. Continue to win hard. Continue to beat them up hard. God will make a way, and when the time is right, the Lord will make it happen. So, Mr. Speaker, I am hopeful that favorable consideration will be given to improve our basketball court and our playing field. We invite all of you to join the Cassibros family reunion next year, start planning. And as I close, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank God who gives more grace when the burden get heavier. I want to thank all those who are helping in the baby ballers football team, because not easy. We live in our home early and we go down field, when we come back, no water. So a lot of work there for us to do and no water. I want to thank also KK's Garments. I think Karina David is the name, for sponsoring the uniform for the ballers. And she even gave me some for the trainers. I thank her very much for her support. I want to thank my love and the rest of the family for all you do to help me. Oh, my love. The people of the Cassibres constituency for all their love and prayers and support. My church and prayer warriors, the labor rights and friends group both here and abroad. All the party groups, Petit Superior Sons of Good Hope, Roseau, Cassibres, and the diaspora group. And the constituency executive will make it happen for me. The LYO who adds youthful energy and life to the constituency. I want to thank Mr. Amanda Clark for holding down the office. The LWO who gave me the courage. The elderlies who are always praying for their pal, their prime minister and their government. Senator Lockhart and Mr. Johnson Drigo were always there. And I thank the prime minister and the Dominica Labour Party for giving me the opportunity to serve at this level. Mr. Speaker, I thank my cabinet colleagues. Let's remain steadfast. Our Father God has blessed us with what I call pop-up ability. Let us sink in your spirit, man. Accept the pop-up ability what God has put in you. So when they press you down there, you just pop it up on that side in their face. Accept the pop-up ability that God has given you. And when they think they're pressing you on one side, they're not seeing you pop up on the next side in their face. The Mr. Speaker, though we may be troubled on every side, but we are not distressed. And we may be perplexed, but we are not in despair. We may be persecuted, but we are not forsaken. We may be cast down, but we are not destroyed. 2 Corinthians 4, verses 8 and 9. Mr. Speaker, I support this budget. May God make the provision for our mission. May He bless us with the resources that we need so that they can materialize. And in Jesus' name, we say it shall come to pass because God will provide. God bless us individually and collectively. Our faces are different, our needs are different, but He's well able to supply all our needs according to His riches in glory. Hallelujah. Tonight, God bless us. God bless Dominica. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.